Whether on the go or at the table, get lost in a conversation about everything coffee with your host, Eric Ortiz.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Everything Coffee, a podcast that delves into the relationship of coffee with a variety of people. From manufacturers, cafe owners, coffee roasters, social media personalities, and so much more. This podcast takes on a deep conversation about everything coffee. Today, I'm joined by Kauser. She is a senior software engineer at LinkedIn, home barista, and content creator on Instagram. She shares latte art tips, specialty coffee education, and tech tips into a growth mindset. Kauser recently competed in Digitution, a digital coffee competition, as part of At Glitter Cat Barista, and was actually a semifinalist. Congrats to her. She's also a public speaker, having given multiple tech talks and a tech career coach. I don't know how she fits it all in. You can catch her on Instagram on Coat of Latte. That's CODEALTTE. Everyone else, welcome, Kauser. How you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome. I am always astonished by you. I see how much you post, how much you just everywhere. I asked all my guests for like an introduction, and I always get varying amount of information from any one guest, but I'm always blown by how much people do, and I'm just like, boy, do I do that? Do I do enough? You do quite a bit, Kauser. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. Thank you. Wow. It's funny because the interview you gave me sums it up, but I will say I have loved coffee for a while, and it wasn't until I got my first espresso machine, a Bravo Barista Express, at the end of 2020 that I became all in the home barista life. So that's kind of where my Instagram Coat of Latte really started, around sharing my latte art journey, and then it just kind of grew from there. And yeah, so that's my coffee side. Tech side, yeah. So as you said, senior software engineer. And yeah, I love how there's so many aspects of the tech world that I apply around coffee too, and kind of vice versa around learning. So it's an awesome space. And by the way, I love all your coffee posts. So latte art is pretty good. I like it. I like it.
No. I'm always astonished with your work too. I just am blown by how much you do and the quality of it. You're everywhere. Every time I get on Instagram, and it's a hustle. Obviously, people that really don't know the Instagram game. That's why we have Kauser on, because I really wanted to bring in people who have personalities inside of the coffee world, who go beyond just coffee, obviously, like Kauser, but you have such a personality when it comes down to coffee, and you mix that in with the technology side of things. And it seemed like every 5 seconds, I'm like, man, she posted again. She has another story. And I'm like, what's going on here? Tell me, what's your social media influences? Who are the people you watch on a daily basis? The big wigs, not the small people like myself, but everyone else.
Oh, you're good. So for me, on the daily, definitely watch Lance Hedrick around coffee education. I watch Emily Bryant for latte art. And
She's good.
Yeah, so good. And then honestly, I feel like it varies based on season. Right now on social, well, it's funny because I was just binge watching a lot of whole latte love YouTube videos, because I'm trying to learn flow profiling. So that's top of mind. And I just recently came back from a 1 week Instagram break. So I do follow a lot more personalities, but those are the top that come to mind. I'll catch up as I get caught up on Instagram.
Well, I think you got a few there that are pretty big and pretty influential in the business side of things, where we belong.
Oh yeah, and of course James Hoffman.
Of course,
can't forget him.
He's like the holy saint of coffee for us.
Yeah, like the default. Yeah.
We do love some James Hoffman. Lance is obviously a good second, and everyone else is just nothing compared to them. But they're all fantastic, great personalities. But tell me about all of that influence that brought you in 2020. You said that it was during the pandemic. I'm guessing that really lured you into coffee. Is coffee something you've always loved, and you just re-explored into it?
Yeah. Let's see. So definitely college fueled me sorry, I can't talk. Coffee fueled me in college. But that's more on like my mocha, like latte days. And then I got a French press. I'm trying to remember when. Actually during pandemic, right? It's because everything was kind of like closed off. But then I would say, like, I've been into coffee for a while, and like I love latte art. I had been practicing like at our office espresso machines for a few years now. But definitely, like, the specialty coffee world, it definitely took off. At least my learnings around it. When I did get my espresso machine, I started making latte art, connecting with the community. But I would say it really accelerated when I got accepted to participate in Digitution by Glitter Cat Barista. So it's this online coffee competition for folks in like marginalized communities. And the goal of that competition was coffee education as being one of them. So that's when I like super got into coffee and the whole world. And so it's just been a lovely experience ever since.
You did really well there, didn't you? Semi-finalist?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I definitely took a lot of like hard work, but also my mentors really helped me. So it just like the community, like everyone was super helpful. And I think that's what I really valued about the experience, because you could message anyone that like help you out. You could talk through ideas, and like that's like one of the most like life-changing experiences ever. So yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. I was looking into the site myself. I was just kind of like, wow, that is pretty cool. I appreciate everything that goes into that program. Quite a bit goes into it, actually. It's not just just a simple one and done. No, there's sponsors, it's events. There's a mission for the program itself. Really well thought out, and a good overall mission for the entire event itself. Tell me a little bit about being a social media personality. I've seen you kind of from the start. I remember some of the first times I've seen you post, and then all of a sudden it just became more and more, and then I was just like, wow, she's really catching on a lot on Instagram, and before you know it, I'm just like, hey, hold on, she has more followers than me. And I was just like, boy, she's working it. What has been your drive for Instagram?
Yeah. So I would say I feel like this happened a lot because of the pandemic, and because, we were really isolated. So to me, I use Instagram as a form of community connection, community and expression, especially like creative expression. Yeah, by the way, thank you for following me since the early days, because I remember those days. I'm like, who is she? But yeah, so my drive is basically around like community connection and just sharing what I learn. I realized as a home barista, like there's certain information that, we learn through YouTube or things like that, but I honestly feel like if I didn't have my Instagram community and people to ask questions to, I feel like I wouldn't have been the home barista that I am. You know what I mean? So I do want to like keep paying it forward. So that's also part of why. Oh, huge shout out to at Journey Coffee Annabelle for coaching my latte art for 8 months, because I super accelerated because of her. So thank you. I have to give that shout out. Thanks, Annabelle.
The art has been pretty awesome. I remember your first post when you were doing the art. You were really starting off, and the pours.
Yeah, I'm like, who is she?
and I remember that you would give yourself such a hard time about some of these posts that you would make. And you're like, all right, I got this. And you're like, all right, this is a great swan. And you're like, oh, that's a heart. Oh, okay. I mean, but they were fantastic. And I saw that kind of grow, and you kind of just bought into it. And I think your audience did the same thing. And then they followed you for all these other great things that you do. And that's the tech side of things. So I love your name. First off, it's the Coat of Latte. You bring in that technology side as well into to the coffee side. Tell me how you blend in the technology and with the coffee side.
Yeah. By the way, thanks for the handle shout out. I'm obsessed with my handle as well, because here's a fun fact. So I gave a Tech Talk 2020, and then I wanted to create a Twitter account. So after a few, like, there's this online site which gives you random combinations, and I forgot the combination it gave me, but it sparked Coat of Latte. So that's just a fun fact of how the handle got created. So for the tech side, so there was a series I did I want to, yeah, in 2021 around like latte dev tips. So I'd have latte art, and then I would show a picture of a book I was reading related to tech, and suggest, reasons why you should read it. And then it's evolved to giving just, I would say varied. So from actual, like, these are some engineering, like, software design principles you might want to use, or this is like an average, like, day in my tech life type thing, like developer lifestyle. So that's just kind of like how I blend it in. It really does change though. I think I post a lot more tech stuff on my stories than I do my posts recently, but I like to change it up, once in a while.
Yeah. And that's where I wanted to kind of take this, where everyone has a different, I guess, approach to social media. I definitely have an audience that I'm trying to reach, and you have an audience you're trying to reach. What tactics do you use in social media that someone that might be wanting to get into this, that's starting on Instagram, that wants to do something? What are those tips that you would say to someone who's like, well, let me tell you a little bit something, when I first started. And I think one of the first things I want to point out that I remember is during the pandemic, it was a lot easier. Everyone was home. And I remember it didn't take much to just get followers to kind of get hooked on. And then it kind of slowed off a little bit when everyone got back to work. And then you had to kind of really think about, okay, content. You have to really develop the content. So what's your tactics going into social media?
Yeah. I'd say it's been a lot of experimentation, and then slowly it's evolved to be more intentional. So I guess when someone's starting early on, I would say just post freely. I know, like, we all want to, like, what are the right things to do? Like, post with attention. What's your strategy? Blah, blah, blah. But, like, just post and see, like, what attracts your attention type thing. But definitely does help. Well, I would say, like, what helps is to have a niche. So, for example, if you're going to post about coffee, do coffee, things like that. But I think what's also important around, like, I guess it's, like, interesting to be called a social media personality. I realize, I mean, I know I have a personality, so I'm trying to think, like, I think given that, if you want to build a following, I think it makes more sense, at least to me. Like, I wanted to build a community. So I wanted to build a community where I could learn from, where I could help out with, things like that. But also, for example, your post could be a certain style, but definitely do incorporate your daily life as part of your stories, because I think that's what makes kind of like a creator a person, if that makes sense, like more approachable.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a super, super awesome tip around that. Other things I would say is when you're creating your, how do I say, like, your description, kind of be intentional around that. So I guess people could look at mine as an example, like, this is what I do. So when people go to your page, they're like, what do you do? Like, why should I follow them? Obviously there are other things as part of it too, right? So there's that. But yeah, and then I follow, like, different social media coaches. I don't remember their name, but I have them saved. And then I think it just, as things came up, they were like, do this, do that. But I can say, according to, I guess, when I got my reel game pretty good early in the year, I think that's what also helped, because I guess the algorithm favored the reel at the time. But lately, I guess, coming back to the break, I did take the break off for a week because I was exhausted. I mean, I'm excited that I have a great community. I'm excited about all these different opportunities that have come as part of it, but it does take a toll. I am like, yeah, I love being a content creator. It's a hobby, but at some point, I also realize I have to set boundaries around, social media as well. So this week was good around that.
And that's a big part of what we do. How much time do you spend on a regular day around your Instagram and that aspect of growth?
Oh, dang. Like, I feel like I have to go check my Instagram analytics. You know how they're like, what's your screen time? I'm like too scared to check.
Like, I don't want to show you what I have.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh,
but
no.
It is an investment,
It is.
So, as you know, cause I think, like, part of it is, like, when you're on Instagram, at least for me, I think for you too, right? You're both a consumer and a creator. So as a consumer, like, oh, what are people up to? And comment and blah, blah, blah. But as a creator, you're like, what can I do? Like, how can I be engaging? What is my audience interested in? And then at least with Reels, you're like, what is a good audio to use? Like what's trending? Things like that.
What's a good skill set you need to have when you get into this?
Okay, yeah. So, when you get into content creation?
Yeah. What would you recommend? Like someone just starting off, what's the basic skill set just to survive and have that thrive? Because everything I listed off on your introduction, I mean, you're a very busy woman, and there's just so much, so much going on in such little time. What do you need to have in order to just be able to get through that rough patch of, okay, I'm barely starting, I need to grow a little bit? What are those tools?
I think the first thing is kind of reducing your expectations around it. I know that's like hard because you're like, oh, I want to do well, blah, blah, blah. But I think, I guess the bare minimum, like a phone, take photos or take video. And then I think what's really important, at least for me, I found is like the caption, because I would say every creator is different. At least for me, I put creators in different buckets. So for example, some creators, for photography, for video, for edits, for humor, for education, among other things, motivation. So I think it's finding like what drives you, like what do you want to do? So for me, I found that my captions, like honestly, I look back to my earlier latte art days, I'm like, wow, what did I post? But at the same time, I'm compassionate about myself. You know what I mean? Like we're all growing and learning. So I think the captions are a way to document. So yeah, just like, and try not to be too hard on yourself, which is easy to say because I know that I'm hard on myself sometimes. So
I think I agree with you in that sense. I see a lot of people that get on here and they have great dreams, and that's great and that's fantastic. But I think just like you said, it just be realistic about what's really going to happen and the amount of work it takes to actually get to where you're at. I think it's been a couple of years, and you're over 5,000 followers on Instagram, which tremendous. And it does take, there's days where you're just like, oh, I see that number going up. And then there's days where you're like, hey, hold on, it hasn't moved in a couple of days.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I see myself too, where I get into that grind and try to look into what other people are doing and what works and what doesn't work. And that takes time on top of the content creation, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And overall, it's just trying to find what works and what doesn't. And I couldn't agree with you more. Just experimentation is such a big aspect of what we're doing here.
Oh, yeah. And I think one thing to add around is I guess it also depends on, like you said, like what's your goal of the account? So for some people, it's like, maybe you could think about like, what problem do I want to solve for my community type thing? And then you could but I agree with you. It is a lot of work. Like, I think adjusting to our audience and also being true to ourselves, like try not to do the same thing every time, but also changing it up. So many like competing things. But I would say, I mean, like you and I, we both enjoy social media, bring creators around it. So I'm glad that we connected that way.
Absolutely. I know there are so many people that I follow who really put their heart and soul into what they're doing. And I got to tell you, very few of us make any kind of money out of this. Mm-hmm. I assure you, I have not. I have lost, but have gained a lot in terms of the education of coffee, getting to meet some amazing people, coffee roasters, owners, personalities, you alike. It's been pretty awesome. And I want to know a little bit about your specific, obviously, this role in coffee, there's a lot more females in the area of what we do, more so than maybe some other, topics, of other things that you might like. But I find myself seeing my analytics and finding that I have a lot of female followers, and, you're a female content creator. How does that play into it and seeing yourself in that role?
Oh, so actually, I think I would say kind of like, because I'm also like a woman in tech. And although I don't work in the coffee industry, I am like a woman in home barista coffeeing life. I guess I don't know if this answers your question, but I guess the way that role that I see is I do want to empower other people, whoever they are, make things approachable. I have found that, maybe at least in my experience, like maybe the home barista life is skewed a certain direction. But I think at the end of the day, as long as like we are certain people that support us, encouragers, I think that's what's important. So yeah, that's what I do for like my women in tech stuff. Like I participate on panels and try to be part of the women tech community that way. So yeah, my goal is to empower. So I guess
Absolutely.
That's what I try to do.
Would you say that that's what drives you to keep on going, being that this does take a lot of time? It does take a lot of resources.
Yeah. I would say I want to empower the person I was a year ago. And then a year from now, I want to be that person who empowers that person a year from now. So I think like using that as a benchmark, like what could have helped me type thing. And then also just, when I see my audience, like see what issues they're having and like, how can I help them type thing. So I think like that keeps me going. Like I'm learning about flow control and, profiling, but that's all new to me. And I know there are like a lot of people who are pros in it, but for me, it's important that I document and share as I go to make it more approachable to people.
2 years ago when you first started and you're looking at yourself now, is there anything that really stands out from these 2 years of doing what you've done on your Instagram and following and coffee relations that really just kind of pops out and just say, yeah, that for just that alone was worth it?
Oh yeah. I would say it's the confidence for me. Like here's the thing, like I'm obviously not anywhere close to being a latte art champion or any champion of any type, I'm still working on my basic shapes, but I do have intention when pouring, again, thanks to Annabelle for coaching me around that. So with that, I have so much more confidence around, I know what I need to do. I know how to troubleshoot pours a lot better. Obviously many ways to learn, but just like seeing my latte art progression, and my ability to educate and troubleshoot around it, like that's been exceptional for me. So, yeah.
And just the opposite of that, what was something that you just weren't expecting that kind of like, I wasn't really wanting this part of it, but it comes with it?
Yeah, I think it's I would say the energy sometimes, like, again, coming back to the pressure we put on ourselves, like, oh, I feel pressured, like I'm very thankful that I have a excellent community. I've gained a lot of followers that way. But also I just feel like I still compare myself, I think that's normal of most people. What is X creator doing? How can I do something similar? But then at the end of the day, I think to myself, like, if I stay true to myself, like, I don't necessarily need to do what X creator is doing in Y area, but I can learn from it. I can change it up. So I think what is it like as people become I wouldn't say I'm like a leadership position, but people become leaders of different type. They feel like they have more pressure. So for me, it's the pressure.
And all of this, and you still have a day job.
Yeah. Oh yeah, senior software engineer life. It's time consuming. It's amazing though. I highly recommend it.
I find myself sometimes during the day wondering, like, do I do this for a living or do I do what I actually do for a living? Because they blend in sometimes where I'm just like, okay, if I do this just right, I can squeeze in a photo, opportunity right here.
Yeah.
And then there's moments where I'm like, I'm going to draw a heart today, and I'm like, oh, that's obviously just a blob. I am not about to post that.
Yeah.
I mean, we have our good days and our bad days. I really enjoy your content. What is it that makes it pop for you that just kind of brings it up? Because every time I look at it, I'm just like, it makes me happy.
Oh, that means a lot. Thank you.
No, of course. And I think it's because don't get me wrong. And you'll tell me right now, but it's because I feel it's authentic.
Yeah. I'm glad you can see that because it really is from the heart.
Good. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. I mean, if not, you've done a really good job of hiding it completely. 100%. Well, what's the future for you on the actual page and your future growth?
Wow. So I would say, I guess just in response to what you just said, thank you so much. I think it's important because I emphasize the growth mindset a lot because it's helped me in multiple areas of my life and other ways. And I feel like, at least for me, that's what helps, I think, me stand out, even to myself. You know what I mean? Like, we're all out here trying to learn, trying to grow from it, and that's okay. So the future. So now that I took a week-long break, I'm re-energized around different areas. So for me, it's It's like I said, learning more about diving more into espresso extraction, profiling shots, obviously leveling up latte art, and so that's the coffee and so many other areas. Oh, by the way, I did set up my brew bar. I'm excited to share it either today or tomorrow. So.
I've been seeing a little bit about that, and I was like,
yeah, I've been like hinting, like they're not hinting. I've been saying it, but I'll release it tonight or tomorrow.
Did you get a new machine?
Thanks to Whole Latte Love, I'm able to try out the Profitec Pro 700 flow control for a few weeks. So I am in love with it.
I'm jelly.
Oh, it's an awesome machine. So,
it looks great.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I also set up my brew bar for my drip station. Drip coffee / pour over coffee station. So yeah, definitely diving. So I would say, yeah, that's the coffee side. And then obviously like matcha, tea, and tech life will be there. But definitely it's still, I would say the same, but also new. It's a very vague answer, I know.
I'm just
stay there for the growth mindset. And I'd like to think I'm funny. So, sometimes and the random like original audios that I make when I'm happily caffeinated.
Well, I am blown back by everything you do. I don't know where you find the time. If you're using some type of time stone, please share it with me. Because I'm just floored by how much you get accomplished, and I wish you nothing but the most amazing future on everything you do on Instagram, and then of course your personal growth in life. I very much appreciate you coming on here, Kauser.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, of course. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so they can find me on Instagram, as you said, at Coat of Latte. I'm also on Twitter with the same handle. If they want to talk about tech stuff anything, on LinkedIn. So just type my name in and I'll be there.
Awesome. Thank you, Kauser. Thank you so much for joining us. And don't forget to subscribe to and get lost in a conversation about everything coffee podcast on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else you get your podcast. Visit us at Javas Jaxie on Instagram and YouTube, JAVASJAXIE. Thank you for joining us and supporting local businesses in your city and around the world.